Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Bryan. We're going to continue on with this week's theme, exploring the genres of country and bluegrass. Today we're going to be checking out the band's First Aid Kit with the track Emmylou. We have a music video for this. Let's dive in, see what First Aid Kit is bringing to the table today. We got a very soft snare on 2 and 4, helping us push forward. I love all of the slides on the background instruments.
I'll be your Emmylou and I'll be your June. You'll be my Graham and my Johnny too. No, I'm not asking.
Very bright, obviously twangy.
Them with your patience. And I've been there before.
It's a very comfortable warmth to this track.
For every stranger with a promise. But I'm holding back. That's the strength that I lack. Every morning keeps returning up my
Interesting vocal stack too.
And it brings me to you, and I won't just pass through. But I'm not asking for a storm. I'll be your Emmylou and I'll be your June. You'll be my Graham and my Johnny too. No, I'm not asking much of you. Just sing, little darling, sing with me.
A little bit of the a little bit of mellowness seeping in. Also, I mentioned it was an interesting vocal stack. There's 2 vocalists. So the more minimal third chorus, probably into the full traditional chorus here. Yep. Yeah. I think this is the first track we've done this week that definitely leans into that pop country vibe. This also feels a bit more modern than anything else we've checked out. Might be a little off on that I can't remember what we checked out Tuesday, but I know Monday and Wednesday were quite a bit on the older side with Johnny Cash and Merle Travis. Actually, give me 1 second. All right, so Tuesday we checked out Bela Fleck, which is why it escaped my mind because that's bluegrass. It is the outlier so far. Johnny, Merle, and now First Aid Kit are all country. So Bela is kind of the outlier with actually being the bluegrass entry into this week so far. Anyways, we still have tomorrow. But that Bela Fleck track was from 1999, which was the most recent, given that Merle Travis was the 40s and Johnny Cash was early 60s. This, though, according to YouTube, at the very least, is probably around 2012. So, yeah, that makes sense for it being the most modern because it definitely feels the most modern too. It has a bit of I'd almost say like an indie folk thing going on though. Definitely leaning more towards country instrumentation and country composition, but it's almost bordering on Americana, especially with its hyper focus on lyrics over all else. We do have instrumentation here. We have a couple guitars, we have the bass, we have the drums, but they're sort of relegated just to support roles where the guitars give us chordal information, the bass fills out the low end and has a little bit of movement to it, and the drums give us our rhythm. We do have an ornamental guitar over here that has these really nice bends and slides that just kind of like curve into a note. And it gives us a nice twanginess from the instrumental side of things, but it really does simply color the song rather than contribute to like the melodic elements going on. And so most of all these instruments come together to create an atmosphere for the vocals to sit within and tell their story. This is very folk. So yeah, like I said, somewhere between like modern pop country and indie folk is where I would put this. But honestly, it's great. I had a blast with this. I know it's probably going to be a bit simple and too cheery for some of you dark, brooding metal heads, but it is a very light, positive, feel-good track. I love how the verse already has quite a bit of brightness to it. We have some feelings of joy or optimism showing up in the chord progression. There's a little bit of bluesiness in there. I think it's mostly there just to give coloring and also to provide a little bit of contrast, because as we come out of this into the chorus, this is just incredibly warm and inviting. I feel like I'm supposed to be here. I am wanted in the presence of this song. It's such a different feeling to metal where I always feel like I'm not supposed to be listening to it, especially the more extreme metals as we get into, black metal and tech death. It feels like I'm not supposed to be here at all. They're upset that I'm here. Everything feels eerie or unsettling or just antagonistic. In general, the song feels like it wants to crush me and attack me. And this is like the complete opposite of that. I enjoy that. I don't know about some of you. I like feeling wanted by my music. So when I listen to this chorus and it is warm and it's inviting, and the more that I listen to it, the more the ornamental bits feel like they're there in order to create something positive, to create a comfortable, safe area to listen to music in. I just find myself melting into it. It is the little twanginess. It is the sound of the guitars. It is the chords being played. Everything is working in unison to create something bright, vibrant, bouncy, and fun. And I guess bouncy might not be the right word for it. I do bounce along with it primarily because of the bass line going on here, but we don't have a lot of offbeat accents that would necessarily push towards a bouncy sound like maybe a dancey pop track or punk track might do. We do have accented 2 and 4 on the snare pretty much through all of this though, and that gives the song quite a bit of forward momentum and allows it to never really stagnate despite it not really having the quickest pace. It's not a blistering speed through here, but it feels like we're always progressing forward. There's no hindrance through any of this. We do have a slight dip into something mellower in the bridge. I'm going to argue that this is mostly for contrast, just to create something that feels a little different. I would be very surprised if the lyrics here dipped into anything more mellow or more sorrowful or anything like that. I'm going to assume the lyrics throughout this are going to be rather bright and positive throughout. And then we bring the energy even further down for the stripped down chorus that we do after the bridge before doing the full chorus. This is a popular structural thing that lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of songs do. It's just, I mean, I called it as I was listening to it. That's how common it is. So again, not something that I think we're going to read from a thematic angle, but one that's there for a structural or musical one in order to create movement in the track and to allow the final chorus to have impact. Because most of the song kind of rides between like a 7 and an 8 intensity. The verse is a 7, the chorus is an 8. It's not a lot of difference between them. So if we want the final chorus to have impact, to not feel like it's just more of the same, you bring the song down so that we can have that contrast and rise back up into it. Very functional structural writing there. Now, I had mentioned the vocals, and originally I had mentioned that it was a very interesting vocal stack. I had assumed that it was backing vocals, where the vocalist had sung the first line, went back into the studio, and sung a second line that was harmonizing with the first. But as I paid attention to the music video towards the end of the track, there's 2 vocalists in here, aren't there? Yeah, I had that, I had the call wrong, but what I find interesting is the more I listen to them, the more unified their vocals are. They're constantly singing in different parts of range. I don't think they're ever singing the same pitch. There is definitely one vocalist that takes the higher parts, and when they sing solo, their parts are higher. And then someone else who takes lower parts, and of course when they're presented solo, they're given lower parts as well too. So we always have this sort of pitch differentiation between the 2 vocalists. But the funny thing is, at the beginning when I was hearing the vocals together, they sound so similar. Once I noticed they were 2 different vocalists and I really keyed in, okay, so what are the timbral differences here? I could begin to tell them apart a little bit. There are some coloring changes between their 2 vocals. But before that, dude, they honestly sounded like the same vocalist to me, just singing higher parts, singing a lower part. And that's incredible. I love when musicians and artists can come together, especially for vocals, because when it comes to other instruments, there's so many factors that you can control in the production of your sound, especially as you start working with more electronic devices like amps and pedals and effects. You can really begin to manipulate the sound. But with vocalists, you don't really have a lot of control over the way your voice sounds. You're just kind of, you're born with it. It's the tone, it's the timbre that your voice will make. And so I always find it really interesting when people can come together and form bands with vocalists who just sound phenomenal together. I find that to be a bit of a rarity. Sometimes, you know, as long as you're singing in pitch, the vocals are going to sound fine. But there are some vocalists, and you just hear them sing together, and you're like, they're meant to sing together. Their voices are like puzzle pieces. They fit so well together. And that's what I got here. I really love the way that their timbres and textures interact with each other, and create the tones that they do with their dyads. It's gorgeous. And I think that it fits the mood of this track as well. There's something very bright and positive, something that is an additive measure when these 2 vocals come together and create something more positive through that. Something really infectious about listening to the way these voices work together. Where was I going to go with that though? I don't know. Oh, yeah. But here's the other thing that I found really interesting about the vocal harmonies is that they're not perfect. 2012, we definitely had pitch correction. In fact, autotune might have even been the software to be using for pitch correction around 2012. I kind of would assume more perfect pitch lining up here for more perfect harmonies, or maybe just cleaning it up a little bit. There's a lot of warble in this, but it works. Because I think a lot of the instrumentation in here is on the acoustic side, having that rawer, slightly distorted, slightly imperfect pitches on the two vocals really sells the, dang, what's that word? The authenticity of this song. Like, obviously there's production being done here. The guitars have a little bit of a boost. There's some mixing going on, some balancing between all the instruments. I'm sure there's some compression on here as well. There's certainly a producer. It's certainly the case that a producer has touched all of this and cleaned it up and balanced it in a specific way. But it all comes across as live, as untouched, as we're just here on a stage performing. There is a down-to-earth, completely acoustic vibe to this, and I think having those raw vocals and just allowing whatever human imperfections arise in those harmonies to be left in the mix really sells it. And it's not in a way that's distracting. I think most people are just going to listen to this and really not even notice it. But dissonance is something that my ears are particularly keen on picking up, for better or worse. And it was one of the first things I heard in the vocals. But I do think it adds character to this track and elevates it. Yeah, solid poppy track here. Had a good time with it. And honestly, it's what I'm hoping for this week. And I think that's what we've been delivered on. Y'all send me so much gnarly, heavy stuff all the time. Having a week of just good, positive music. Everything's been fairly upbeat this week. Yeah, I've been enjoying this. Now, granted, we have had some black metal in the special selections this week. It hasn't been fully positive. But it's nice to get away from the metal sometimes and, dig into some poppier ideas. Let's hit some lyrics. All right. And here we have a love song of someone who is a bit apprehensive to confess their love to someone because of being burned in the past. Verse 1 talks about their longing, saying that the bitter winds are coming in and they're already missing summer, but they were born to endure this kind of weather. But when it comes to you, I find, like a ghost in my mind, I am defeated. So this other person is always on their mind. Verse 2 talks about their past. Like I said, they've been burned. It says, I've been there before and I've held up the door for every stranger with a promise, but I'm holding back. That's the strength that I lack. Every morning keeps returning up my window and it brings me to you, and I won't just pass through, but I'm not asking for a storm. Saying that, she's fallen for promises in the past with relationships and they've never really turned up well. And so she's kind of apprehensive to dive into this one despite her feelings for this person. The bridge says, yes, I might have lied to you, but you wouldn't have benefited from knowing the truth. I was frightened, but I held fast. I need you now at long last. And the way I interpret this is that they didn't confess their feelings to someone else, to this other person. Maybe even said, nah, I don't like you. I don't think of you in that way. Because they were afraid to dive into this relationship again. They're trying to play things slow and keep their feelings close to their heart. But as stated at the end of the bridge, they're ready to dive in, to give this a proper shot because this other person is all that they can think about. And the chorus brings all of this full circle and says, I'll be your Emmylou and I'll be your June if you'll be my Graham and my Johnny too. We have Emmylou Harris, June Carter, Johnny Cash, and Graham Parsons, all American country stars here. So kind of saying that, these relationships happened in country music's past. If you'll be the male counterpart of these, I'll be the female counterpart of these. I'll be your Emmylou and your June if you'll be my Graham and my Johnny. Now, I got to give some props to the people over at genius.com. I don't know that I would have paired any of that together, particularly because Johnny Cash is the only one of those four I'm familiar with. And without having Cash there, Johnny's just a very common name. So I probably would have looked over that entirely. The end of the chorus says, "I'm not asking much of you, just sing with me." And I think that's fantastic. It continues the illusion of past country music stars who were known for singing and having songs about love, especially, Johnny Cash, Monday. We checked that out, Ring of Fire. A song about desire so powerful that it can be visually, metaphorically represented with fire itself. But it's also about two people coming together and doing something gorgeous, which is, two people singing in harmony is absolutely beautiful. I just waxed poetically about the two vocalists on here singing together. So, yeah, the whole metaphor there just works really well. And I think this song about kind of being head over heels for someone and having butterflies in the stomach, but being apprehensive, shines through the music pretty well. In fact, I even mentioned that I didn't expect the bridge to look at less positive words lyrically, even though the music came down, but it kind of does. There's a vulnerability here that isn't expressed anywhere else. It says, yeah, I lied to you in the past, but I was scared then. I didn't want to confront my feelings here. I don't want to dive into this. And that vulnerability, I think, is expressed in the stripped down, more mellow atmosphere. Yeah, very cool, very cohesive. Love how everything ties together at the end. Wonderful track. What did y'all think of this, though? These are my thoughts on First Aid Kit's Emmylou. Did you enjoy this? Is there anything that stood out to you? Anything that you'd like to add on to what I said or correct me on? Do you have your own take, perspective, or opinion on this? Let me know. Put those thoughts and anything else you'd like to add into the comments section below. Above that, in the description box, you'll find a link to Linktree. Takes you here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. That wraps it up for today. I'll be back tomorrow, though, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC as usual. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.